Today I'm at Ravensthorpe Reservoir near Northampton fishing for pike with lures and sea baits. It's a really nice day. There's not much wind at the moment, but it's forecast to get a bit stronger. I'm starting off with two dead baits, both of them mackerel, and later I'm going to wind one of them in and fish a lure on my other rod. Today is the first round of the lures versus sea baits competition to see which method is the most effective for me, and the scoring system is as follows. I will also be using the Deeper Chirp Plus to find the depths and locate the prey fish. I'm adjusting the depth by sliding the stop knot up my line to make it about 10 feet from my drifting float rod. I'm putting a whole mackerel on because I just want to go for big fish and I don't really want any trout to take the mackerel. I'm using a Jardine snap tackle with two size 4 trebles. The trebles are barbless with just a barb on the hook that goes into the mackerel. I didn't cast out very far because I'm going to grease up my line to make it float. To maximise my chances and cover a lot more water, I'm using Fox Rage System Drifter Float. Underneath the float I've got a drill bullet that weighs 2/3 of an ounce. Above the float I've got a sliding stop bead that will stop when it reaches the stop knot. Above the trace I've got a rubber stop bead that will protect the trace knot from getting damaged when the drill bullet bangs against it during casting. I'm now going to grease my line using a very old pot of muslin from my trout fishing days. The label's got worn off, so I'm showing you the correct label next to it. You can also buy silicone muslin. I'm applying the grease with the cloth that came in the tub. Also, you've got to be careful not to get your line that's lying around tangled, so you feed that out gradually. An essential item to have is a large unhooking mat to wet and lay on the bottom of the boat if you get a big fish. I've given it about an hour with 2 sea baits out, so now I've wound one of them in and I'm going to have a go with my lure. If I'm fishing a clear area, often let it sink to the bottom before I start pulling it in, and I wind it in, switching it back to try and make it look as lifelike as possible. This is me testing the lure close to the boat. It seems that the dead baits are getting the first of the action. The marks between my thumbs seem to be from a predator. I'm also showing you a boat rod rest that I borrowed to try. This will help keeping the drifting rod separate to my lure fishing rod. I've got the bait runner on set lightly so as I can pay out line. Also I've got to be careful not to get the line tangled up with the rod that's underneath that I'm not using. You can see the calmer flat areas indicated by the arrows are where there's weed beds. The pike would hang around these weed beds, but I've got to be careful not to cast in the weed beds. I've just moved round slightly to try another spot. I'm putting out my Deeper now, my Deeper echo sounder that's linked to my tablet to see what the bottom's like, what the depth is, and if there's any small fish around. It's about 14.5 feet deep here, and also you can see that there's a few bits of filamentous weed sticking up about 3 feet from the bottom. Ah, I'm into something. It doesn't feel ever so big. While working the lures, you just have to be patient. You have to stick at it and eventually something will grab hold. At least it's a pike. It was lightly hooked, so I could lean over and unhook it in the landing net. Now to try again to see if there's any more around. Just weed that time. You do pick up quite a few bits of weed when you're fishing near the weedy areas. One good thing about the boats at Ravensthorpe and Pittsford as well is that they have really big landing nets in case you hook an absolute monster. I've just moved spots again and I'm putting out the Deeper to see what there is around. There seems to be a weedy area and a shoal of prey fish around it. This seems a good spot for me to try. First I'll cast out my drifter float with the mackerel on. I sit back for a while and see if anything will take the dead baits. Nothing does, so I wind one in and start lure fishing. I'm into another fish and this one feels a lot heavier. It's only lightly hooked, so this close to the boat I'm going to switch the anti-backwind off and play it by backwinding. With this pike and another pike later on in the video, there seems to be an old healed up scar that's just behind its head. I don't know what's caused them. I don't know whether it's cormorants or what. I'm really pleased. My second biggest ever lure caught pike at 24 pounds 6 ounces. One of the good things about these enormous landing nets is that you can let the fish recover in them for a while before releasing them. If you haven't subscribed already, please don't forget to subscribe. Pike do sometimes hunt in pods or small groups, so it's a good idea after you've caught one to cast out straight away again and try and catch another one. I fished for quite a while after that without getting any more takes, so I changed swims again and then put the deeper out to see what depth was. It was just under 18 feet. The split screen bit to the left shows the area that I fished in the last 3 hours or so. It's getting late, so I'm going to move upwind a bit and try a calmer area for the last little while. It's getting late. That's the end of a really enjoyable day's pike fishing. It's time to motor back in. And now for day 2, a similar sort of day to day 1. It's a few days later, there's a gentle breeze, it's sunny and with a reasonable amount of cloud cover as well. I'm starting off casting my half mackerel to the edge of a bed of weeds. And on my other rod I'm fishing with lures. Here's a reminder of the scoring system that we're using. At the end of day 1 it was 11 points to lures and 0 to sea baits. Casting your lures into the sun is quite a good idea because fish don't like to chase into the sun. They don't like the sun in their eyes. So this way round the fish will be chasing towards you away from the sun. As the day progressed, I tried quite a few spots, but I haven't had any bites so far. The wind was from the north, so I also tried a sheltered northerly shore. This is the sort of day that I like for pike fishing, with quite a bit of sunshine and quite a bit of clouds just moving gently over, covering the sun from time to time. This gives variable light conditions and opportunities for the pike's feed. Quite often when lure fishing, I was letting it sink to the bottom before switching it back in. I was also counting it down to get an idea of the depths away from the boat. This was partly because I'd forgotten my echo sounder. I moved again. Clouds had obscured the sun and the wind was getting up slightly, and I was thinking this might be a good time. I persisted with one rod out with a sea bait and fishing with a lure on my other rod. I'm into a fish. It doesn't feel very big. A rainbow. It's really rare to catch one of these on one of these big lures. As usual, I've squashed the barbs in on this lure with a pair of pliers so I can just lean over the side and unhook it quickly. I quickly cast out again, let it sink and start retrieving it back. I'm also hoping there'll be some pike around here. I'm into something quite a bit bigger this time. Oh yes, it's a good fish. GoPro, start recording. That's annoying. I did drop the bait on it straight away again afterwards and it didn't take, so the only thing to do now is to keep going and try and catch that one or another one. I carried on fishing the same area for about 20 minutes. That's a relief. I'm into a fish. It's either the one that I lost or perhaps another one. Either way it feels quite heavy. I'm not going to fiddle around with the other camera this time. Another really nice fish. This time it's £17 10 ounces. Again I let it recover in the landing net before releasing it, and notice this one also has one of those old healed up scars behind its head. I carried on fishing, hoping there'd be some more pike around. As it gets towards the end of the day, it's a good idea to set your seed baits a bit shallower and fish your lures a bit shallower as well, as the pike move up in the water following the prey fish. These are the scores for the 2 days. 3 pike have fallen to the lures, also trout that didn't count, and nothing has fallen to the dead baits. If you haven't subscribed already, please don't forget to subscribe.